Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Evil Hour, the all things survival horror podcast, including our experiences, thoughts, and hot takes. We're your hosts, the dudes of dudes, horror enthusiasts, renegades of the underground. This guy over here is...
I'm DDogCat36/Dom, or Dominic.
I am Sean Graves, and in today's episode we will be discussing our point of views on violent video games.
Yeah.
So... I guess we could just sum this up in like 5 seconds. I would just say, I don't care.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And that's why I told my wife, this is gonna be an interesting podcast because it could be a very long or very short,
I was the one that did some research here on this one.
Oh, okay. And that's what I was gonna get into. I got my own little bit. I got my own little kick to it too. Sorry, not trying to I'm feeling like I felt something drop.
Trying to help the bolos out a little bit there.
Oh man, little blooper there, dude. I felt something stab me. Dude. I was like, what the fuck?
Yo, you know what? Sometimes I feel like there's something on me, and I'll be like, oh, and then I'm looking, I'm like, there's nothing on me.
I felt.
Yeah.
No, but by the way, I love how I have 3 names sometimes. I got Dom, Dominic, DDogCat36.
Why limit yourself?
By all of them. Absolutely.
Why limit ourselves?
But I would like to get on this topic with you. I would like to say, starting out as well, is I don't really see the problem of it. Now, most parents, I can see why they don't or do. Let me turn down this real quick. I can see why they do or don't. For example, my parents, and these are some little tidbits I'll throw in here. I got more to talk about later, but just a little tidbit. What's up, man?
Caveat for those who are listening, I'm a decade older than you.
Yes.
So I'm just going to give you a heads up. I didn't realize this went further back than 1992. And I was alive and aware of things that were happening in 1992 and going through my life before you showed up in the picture.
Oh shit.
And then I found out more things that happened as you were growing up as a kid that I was kind of privy to, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun to share with you because I don't know if you know about these things, so we'll just so from a young man's perspective, give me your perspective as an adult now, but when you were a kid, your POV.
So when I was a kid, basically I had the cool parents, right? I had the parents that they bought me games and they knew what they were sometimes they didn't. And I was always the kid that friends would come over to my house because their parents wouldn't buy them the game / play or let them even see it. So when they come over to my house, I had the Grand Theft Autos, the fucking just the murder and killing games and all that stuff. And my parents were chill about it because they were kind of well, in a way, he's going to see it anyway. For example, Call of Duty or something like that, Battlefield, you might go into the military. So, you're going to fucking see guns and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you'll definitely maybe see, a handgun or a shotgun, but you're definitely not going to be seeing a...
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Depending on your job. You're probably never going to be at the line of fire.
Right. So it's just they kind of understood that. And not only that, my parents, as I talked about previous streams, they were horror people. So they would buy me the horror games, and thus I grew up with Silent Hill and stuff because they just know okay, we watch horror movies in front of our kids and it never affected me. Now, I hate to say it like this. Basically, not everybody thinks the same as me. So watching some fucked up horror movies could do something to that child later on in life. Hopefully not, but get reflections. So many stories I hear of oh well, they got inspiration, hate to say it, but Columbine, Doom. They blame Doom for it.
I'm so glad you hit that because I did some research on this, and this is a part of the research that I was doing actually. But this goes a little bit further back than Columbine. It goes further back than 1992. It goes all the way back to the 1970s. So you and I were both not even thought of, okay? So one of the
and
things...
by the way, I'm free talking about this. I didn't write anything down.
Yeah, no,
I was not confident.
I'm a note taker.
Oh yeah. No, real quick, let me finish this up though, because I really didn't have much. But for example, my parents bought me, I even actually just talked to my wife about this the other day. I actually showed her the game because she didn't know what it was. When I was like 6 or 5, my parents bought me the game Manhunt. And
that's right. I was thinking about this game. I was looking for it. I was looking for it in my notes. Going like, was Manhunt ever like brought up as like an example for?
Well, it was banned in most of the world because of the plastic bag killing, and you suffocate somebody. And I hate to say it like this, so I played Manhunt when I was a young person, and I'm obviously 25 now, and I never done this shit. So like, I think it has different perspective on people. I hate to say it like this. As a child, you giving your child that kind of game, I'm not gonna say all of them are not gonna be like, you know, because there might be that one that just snaps. But me personally, I wouldn't blame video games. No, I don't think that actually really relates to people / make them more violent into some things. Now, with this being said, and this is my last one, is because I talked to my wife about this too, and she even kind of wrote on that fine line like, true. So, have you ever heard of the game Hatred?
No.
Okay, so it's just like Manhunt, where it was banned in most, how can I say it?
Countries and areas of the world.
Thank you. Yeah, it was banned in most countries and areas in the world. And I have the game on Steam, and basically I could see why, because a game like this, you have to be kind of sick and twisted to play / enjoy / make, I hate to say, because it's kind of like, think of it like the Human Centipede, right? Like somebody made that movie and they're walking around. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody thought of that, dude, right? So Hatred is a game where, and this is gonna be a touchy subject, especially with, you know, school
There's
starting.
probably be like a fair place to put it, that we're touching on a subject about violence and gore and things like that. And if you've been listening to the pod up to now, episode like what, 18, 20, I've lost count at this point. You know what we're here for.
Right.
Parental advisory is probably appropriate.
Yeah, but basically the whole purpose of the game is that you hate your fucking life. That's what he says, and he just tired of these sick people just living in his life. He hates people. He literally kicks down his door, and you start going on a mass killing spree on innocent people. And I hate to say it, it's a fun game, but it is so sick and twisted though, that I think about like,
I get to go on a killing spree, but this game is really fun.
Yeah, it is. And it's just like, if it, in my head, I'm like, somebody literally made this game to kill innocent people, because your whole duty is, you do that, like you start out in a park and you just shoot up random people, and then you go to a police station, shoot up the police station, and then like, anyway, I'm gonna spoil it for y'all, but you make it all the way up to the military base and you launch a fucking nuke to destroy the whole world, and you blow the whole world up.
Oh, this is ridiculous. Like, okay, so like in my head I was like,
it's a stupid game.
Like it starts off with something that's kind of like, okay, if you don't get too far deep into it, then you know it gets to the ridiculous peak. You know?
Right, and I hate to say it like this, but a game like that, to me, and this is coming from my standpoint, and she even knows it too, is when I'm playing Hatred, I'm normally listening to death metal music, and I had just a fucked up day at work, and I'm just relieving stress, you know, just going around, and just like any other person, like, dude, let's be honest here, like me using that game, for example, a lot of people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you right now? Well, let's take it this way then. Grand Theft Auto. You fucking start the game, you're listening to some music, you pick up a hooker, you do your thing, and then you beat the shit out of her, and then take her money. But I don't think of it like that. I'm just like, yeah, hit these people, and then swerve the car, and, you know, it's fun. It's just fun. So, there is definitely, like, there's some definitely. But what about you, though?
You touched on Grand Theft Auto. I brought that up. I brought that to the table.
I know that was a touchy game when it first started.
Yeah. So, from my point of view, by the way, thank you Black Neo 5150 for following. Appreciate that, my dude.
Oh yes, thank you.
So here's the thing. From my point of view, to me, violent video games started off like really like just visually graphic, right? Where nothing really like crazy happened because everything was like pixelated, you know, on computers, like pixel art. And then I would say in my childhood, the Mortal Kombat arcade game is when I first started seeing violence on video games, and specifically even in public, correct? Oh, I see what you put in the chat there. Yeah.
Right.
And
what about?
There's a Columbine RPG.
I'm looking this up real quick just to make sure. Like...
What? Oh my gosh.
My God, there is.
Oh no.
That's wow.
Oh no.
It actually is. 2005 it came out. Holy shit. So like
yo, that was like
April 20th too. Dude.
The day. It was on the day. It was on the day.
April 20th. It was on the day.
Wow.
Oh my God, this guy's messed up. Danny Leodani. I can't say it. Leodani is the developer who made this game for PC.
Wow. Okay, so one of the things that
we got distracted. No, cool thing.
But cool
Neo.
thing there. Yeah. Freaking I found out that since the 1970s, games have been criticized because of the quote violent content. And in one camp, we have politicians, parents, and activists claiming violence in video games can be tied to violent behavior, specifically for children. So this is a very interesting point because I remember in my childhood, and I'm sure that it happens still to this day, that we get like pundits and people who come onto the television or news outlets and then, or like some politician with some, you know, group of people that's backing them saying like, hey, push this agenda forward, you know? And as well as activists, I get it. Like when I think of activists, it's specifically for video games, like I don't know why in my head, but I thought about the moms who were against Kiss because Kiss is a metal or you know, a rock band. They dress up with like war paint on, and they're like, oh, you know, it's probably the devil's music or whatever. Like, there was like somehow they turned KISS into an acronym, like Knights in Satan something. Really? Like I don't remember what the last S standed for.
To be fair though, just like games, music was highly to tell people like, oh well, this is devil's music and you're gonna go out doing shit. Knights and Satan servants, he said.
Servants. That's what it was. Yeah, service. That's what it was. Yeah.
Wow.
And so
I didn't
in my
even
heart,
know that about Kiss. And I'd be honest with you, this is probably because I'm young, but I hate Kiss. Like I love 80s rock, but Kiss, I hate Kiss.
I love the music.
I really do.
No. So Kiss is an awesome band. Kiss is an awesome band. They've got great music. They've got it's if you want to listen to just some really comfy rock music, listen to Kiss, okay?
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
I love me some Guns N' Roses, all right?
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I get it. And to me, like Kiss is like a comfort rock band where it's like I want to listen to rock, but like I don't need to pay attention to it. But if I want to rock out to like Detroit Rock City, I can rock out Detroit. Yeah, you know, like
that's like me when I'm on my motorcycle. Guns N' Roses is my go-to. Like, it's just comfort. I'm out in the country, wind's hitting me, Guns N' Roses. Axl is screaming like he does.
So, I get this. 1970s games have been around since like around the 60s. You know, with like the old Pong video game and all those things, right?
Oh yeah,
but Pong is not like a violent game in any way. You know, Pac-Man's not violent in any way. One could say that Donkey Kong is a little violent because it's, you know, animal cruelty. But I mean that's a huge stretch, you know. So We're gonna jump from 1970 to like 1992, and again, this is when Mortal Kombat comes out with its fatalities. You know, Scorpion and the mask thing, and like the kiss of death, and like the heart rip out from Kano, and
ripping your skull with your spine.
Yeah. And like I know that like there was a whole thing. I know there was a whole thing back then where there was like a
news articles and shit like that.
Well, yeah, but there was also like 2 versions of Mortal Kombat that you could play with, and that was, you know, the arcade version, but like there was a way that they could go in and admin off the blood. So it would look like dirt is coming off of them. And then
what? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the original Mortal Kombat game, there's two graphics for it, and that is one. Well, they always left the violence on, like because that's why people are playing this beat 'em up game, right?
It was a fighting game,
right? But like no, there was one where you see like the blood coming off of the hitters, right? And then there was this other version of it where you punch, and then it looks like dust is coming off of them. It was very weird, but I mean, it was one of those things. And then 1999 hits, right? So,
this is the year I was born. This is the year D-Dog.
So, Columbine High created a moral panic, and the main complaint being, and the moral panic, which by the way, it's moral panics. The main complaint being violent video games lead to aggressive behaviors in real life. Now I remember this because I was old enough to catch these on like the television, but people were I remember people on television
when this happened.
I was like 11. I was like 11 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I remember this on the television screens, but people were talking about how like because the shooters came in with black dusters on, with like all the gear on them, you know, concealed, and then they just unleashed this in-house terror. They were linking that to a movie that had just released that year too, The Matrix.
Really? Oh my fucking god! Yeah, because they had the trench coats.
Right.
Really?
Right. Yeah. It was a whole thing, man. Like you had to be alive to be there. So like, I know you're like 4 months old. But yeah, I remember that being a thing, and I remember like a lot of like clutch downs. Oh yeah, the trench coat mafia. Yeah, exactly. And
wait, the shooters did or Matrix? I don't know shit about Matrix.
Yeah, no. Not the Matrix movies. The people who the teens.
Really?
Who, yeah, we're all in that. Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a. If you look up that incident, it's intense, especially for the 90s because we don't have cell phones. We don't have we have the internet, but it's not really the internet that we know today. It was more like, you know, like basic dialogue. Google. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no, I hate to say it like this, but just like how we talk about, oh, by the way, Black Neo, we do podcasts and everything, talk about a whole variety of sorts of things, and we talked about one of like serial killers and stuff like that. So I hate to say it like this too, but for some odd reason, I always like catch myself like getting into like knowing more about the shooters and everything from Columbine. I like get into like this deep focus of like, well, I want to know more, you know? So like I try to like I get into it, just like how people get into looking back history of serial killers and shit, just like myself as well. But I didn't know that about them, so that's kind of cool that you're trying to actually tell me more than what I thought I already knew.
Which is also like things that kind of get lost in the sauce as time goes on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's like details that.
Well,
like,
that's like their like final their final picture day or whatever, and they're like in there. That gives me chills, bro. That gives me chills. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
Out of its time, by the way. What the fuck?
Fast forward, and we got GoldenEye 007.
That was
a first-person shooter game. Yeah.
But then, wait, Nintendo 64, right?
Yes.
Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
so
see,
a lot
again,
of
I
these.
played this.
Yeah. And like Doom was another game that was out and about that people were
Right.
like, you know, pointing to and going like, hey, this kind of like art or this kind of video games begets violence because it is in itself violent.
Which I get it, but then again, like me coming from a gamer slash, especially I hate to be like this, but a boy gamer or at the time a kid gamer, buddy, you're shooting at hell creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not even people at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Grand Theft Auto and shit like that. Of course, I get it because those are civilians and everything. You could run away from the cops and shoot the cops in the face. But like
well, and
Doom,
the same
bro,
for...
you're literally in hell.
Yeah.
Like how? What?
And the same can be said for GoldenEye too. In fact, Black Neo was saying that there's a lot more about that shooting, and he doesn't want to get too deep into the reports. But they had said that there was a third shooter at the time, but that was scrubbed in the news. And that GoldenEye was an amazing, and yeah, Doom got a lot of grief back then.
Oh, shit.
Again, it's like, you know, there's like, for the time, these graphics are really like intense, and
Right.
you know, the content of the media is too much.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say like too much, but it was like definitely. Hey, Bernardsco.
I play games growing up as a kid, and I'll replay them as an adult, and I'm like, this is not what the fuck it looked like when it, like, this was ahead of its time when it came out.
For
and
sure.
now,
like
I'm like, oh.
Well,
Oh,
I think
God.
that because like, you know, for us, like we were
God damn it! Here we go with the goddamn. I'm from Ohio too, you motherfucker.
I love
Hey,
Barnasco for this.
Black Neo, I just mentioned Manhunt just before you joined. I literally just talked about Manhunt, so that's funny that even
Yeah.
Black Neo knows, man.
Mhm.
No, you're fine, man. I'm glad that you're tuning. This is what we want when we do this podcast. I'm finally glad that it's
For
happening
sure.
the way we finally want it now. So yeah, no, you're fine, dude. We want to hear your feedback. Sorry for pausing every time.
Yeah,
you
no,
can go
you're
ahead and
fine.
Go in, Sean.
So that's 1999. Let's move on to 2001, and Rockstar Games comes out with GTA 3, Vice, and San Andreas in 2004.
Oof. San Andreas.
Yeah, right. And like, I don't know, my GTA time is literally just GTA 5.
I was gonna say, I hate to say it like this, and a lot of people are gonna hate me, but I'm gonna let it out now. I actually hated GTA until the GTA 4 and 5 because like it wasn't fun. I'm sorry, it really wasn't. Like San Andreas wasn't shit. Classic. Vice City definitely wasn't shit. Like, but I'm excited for 6. GTA 4 and 5, masterpiece. Love them. Always have fun. You know.
Right. There's always something to do in those games. Like you can just like do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so shortly after, in the span of time from 2001 to 2004, these other games from these other developers come out, and there's more like quote unquote violent content that's embedded in these games that one can do if they so wish. And then in 2005, specifically for California, they banned the sales of violent games to minors. So you could be a minor.
Okay.
So if you're like 18 and under, you can't walk into a store and be like, "Hey, I want to buy
Wait,
GTA."
what year did that happen?
In 2005.
So before 2005, you as a kid you were allowed to buy mature games.
Well, so like the whole like what would you call it? The what's it
Because
called?
you gotta remember, in 2005 I was now 6 years old. So like,
Right. You know, like when movies get like a rating.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So like that, the ESRB, that's what it's called. The ESRB thing didn't happen until 1992.
Because of Mortal Kombat.
Right. Yeah. I forgot to mention that part. Thank you, Black Neo. So that's why it's like we saw these emblems on them, or like if you go overseas, they're more like numbers with like an age on it, like you know. But like California, first and foremost, was like the one state that was like, yeah, no. If you're a minor, like you cannot buy a rated M and above video game. So you would have to have an adult come in and say, hey, I want to purchase this game. Yeah, I got this kid next to me, but we're just gonna pretend like Timmy's not really playing this game.
As my dad.
And this goes.
Is like what you want.
Right, and this goes to what you were saying earlier in the pod, was that like, you know, my first time watching a scary movie, I was like 10 years old maybe, and it was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, it's not really a scary. It's not like a scary movie. It's more like a thriller, like psychological. Like it's just a murder movie. Okay, it's just a guy just slashing people.
Right.
I fell in love with Jennifer Love Hewitt that night, and you know, like I think that like my parent at the time that I was living with my mom, but it was really my sister, my sister at the time. She was the one who was like, "Hey, let's watch a scary movie tonight." I was like, "Are you sure?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like,
sister, man.
She's like, "Yeah, come on." And so like we watched this movie together. But like I'm watching a scary movie with someone who's older than me, right? And if things got a little too violent, I would cover my eyes and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I stuck it out. I was like, no, I'm gonna be brave this time and do this. And so fell in love with the horror genre after that.
Right.
I don't know.
Really
actually,
that's a good question. I probably want to ask my mom. I want to know what my first horror movie was because I really don't know. I remember Texas Chainsaw as a kid, though, like the life of me. Oh my god, that's why I'm a Leatherface fan to this day. I love Leatherface.
Yeah, like when they come out with like, you know, information about like how they're gonna do like a new I Know What You Did Last Summer film, I'm like, really? Like we doing this? Like I didn't know this was possible. Like yeah. I mean they pulled it off with Scream, so I don't know why like we can't do it with I Know, right? You know?
Which I'm sorry, they should have stopped it, man. It's just
yeah, the first three were like the best. Yeah.
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 Yeah. 100%. Matthew Lillard.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like with video games, it comes down to the maturity of like the kid. Cause like if I had like a 10-year-old or like someone younger, I would be like, no, you get to play Yoshi's World for a little bit longer. You know, and that's me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
No. You don't
actually, this brought up a good thing about like me and my wife had this conversation because she even asked me like how are you, like you as an adult, because she knew how I grew up, you know what I'm saying? She knew what I was exposed to and shit like that. And she's just like, so you as an adult, like how you go do it? And I even kind of told her like, you know, I feel like some things I would be limited on, but like if they want the new GTA 10, I'll probably buy it for him, you know. But like, if we're talking like hatred style type games, I'll probably be like, okay, buddy, like let's play some Mario Kart.
Well, so like
like for example, Manhunt, I might let my kid play Manhunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might.
It's like okay, so my dad had this whole like kind of sort of rule. It wasn't really a rule. Whatever a rule was in his world was, I watch the movie first, and then I'll judge if whether or not it's appropriate for. I feel it's appropriate for you to see.
Yeah.
I think that got lost in this. I don't know.
A lot
like
of parents like that.
Yeah, but like, and I get it. Like as a 36-year-old, I get it now. But like, even in my 20s, I'd be like, if you had a kid, you'd either be the best dad ever, or would just tear out your non-existent hair. I'd be ripping the mustache off of me, just going like, ooh. But yeah, like I would, awesome. as a parent, I think I would do the same thing that my papa had done, which was, you know, watch the movie, watch the video game, play a little bit of the video game, see like, now that we have the power of YouTube, there's content creators out there that will like be more than glad to breeze through it. But they didn't have that back in the 90s, so you just had to figure it out, you know?
Right. The best way I could describe with what we're talking about with that situation is, and honestly, maybe I'm wrong here, but is that you should know the best of your child. You should know everything that your child could handle and or do. And obviously, if you're looking at your child and you're like, I don't think they could handle a game, then don't let them play said game. You yourself should know your child more than what your child knows them. You know, so that's what I was gonna go into is like, if I see that my child could handle and, you know, not think about like, oh, well, if I play GTA, then I'm just gonna beat up a hooker. You know what I'm saying? If he has that kind of mentality that he's not gonna do that, then I feel like, you know, you're ready
hey,
for
Dad,
a game like that. Then.
It'd be like this. Hey, Dad, today I plan on being a mobster.
Yeah, like no,
You know what I
we're
mean?
done. We're done playing that. Yeah, really, no more Mafia for you. By the way, they're making a new Mafia. I'm kind of excited about that.
Or like Saints Row. Like Saints Row is like another game that could be considered.
Saints Row's a
you know.
classic, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on through time, we've got 2009, Far Cry 2, and Counter-Strike.
Far Cry 2. Ooh, great childhood.
Yeah.
And see, that's why I want my child to have too. Is like some of these games that you're listing off. By the way, Counter-Strike. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It's
right?
like, dude, like you're listing these off, and just like how Neo did. He said Manhunt. It's like forced me to go back to my childhood days, like playing that, and it has a warm feeling in my heart. It's not making me wanting to be violent. It's like, man, I remember my times playing Far Cry 2 and
or Far Cry 3.
Manhunt,
I started on Far Cry 3, and then I played Primal.
Far Cry 3 is a great one, dude.
Right?
Far Cry 3 was awesome. Do you know the definition of a sandy, by the way?
Right.
That fucking line I hated so much because
I love it.
Great character, by the way. Great fucking character. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So.
Oh yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, Voss was tough.
Voss was.
His fucking accent, his character, dude.
He was literally controlled chaos.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
The phone part too at the beginning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right.
You think this is fun? Like holy shit, dude.
Like gets all up in there, man.
God.
But like if you think
the
about
music
it, like
they played out for that. I'm sorry.
Right?
What's up?
It's a real piece of art. It really is a piece of art. It's just again, if you think of coming from it from like a point of view about again politicians, parents, and activists, I could see where if they don't know the content or they never played it, or they're just like reaching at straws to say, well, this happened because it's correlated to this, but I have no proof of it, you know? So
right.
It's one of those things.
I hate to say it though, something like Far Cry, that shit can happen in real life, you know? Like there's pirates. You can get fucking kidnapped.
Absolutely, but then let's get to this game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Oh boy, the no Russian part.
Exactly. You knew exactly where I was going with this. And like
again, childhood. I was 9 years old, dude. When that part, I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude, let's go."
But you're not a terrorist.
No, I'm not. You know,
yeah, like.
But it was so fucking awesome.
So I remember playing this with my nephew, who's about the same age as you, by the way. And when we got to that scene, I was like, I don't know if I should be pulling the trigger on this. And my nephew's like, dude, you got to pull the trigger. I was like, I'm not. I literally remember doing this like with my controller. I was like this. I was like,
have fun, kid. Have fun.
My nephew's like 11, 12 years old maybe at the time. And I'm just like, you got this. Like.
Oh yeah, I forgot because of that part of the level.
There was a blip that came up.
Big fucking horizon. Yeah.
Right. I remember there was a blip before that chapter starts off, and it says like, "Do you want to skip or not?" Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god, you just gave me chills. That was a core memory. Holy
shit.
Wow.
Well, share if you wish. You know, like it's okay. Like.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, like when that part happened, I just remember hearing it on the news and like I was like, there's something serious about this. So, you know, me playing it and everything. And like I said from the beginning when that part happened, I was like, fuck yeah, like let's go, you know, like but like you said, I don't go to an airport now and no Russian.
Right. And I mean I've traveled the world. I've traveled America. Like I've gone cross country plenty of times, and I'm sitting here going like this. I don't walk into an airport thinking like this is where the chapter ends. You know what I mean? Like I don't think of things like that. Right. Could it happen? Yeah, that's the world we live in today. It's been like that since 1999. But it doesn't mean that my world, like I need to stop everything that would prevent me from going and seeing family abroad or friends or etc. Because of this one thing, you know? And it's a piece of art, it's a piece of fantasy, it's a it's not necessarily
That's what my
like,
mom would always tell me too, is like when we were watching horror movies, she's just like, it's just Hollywood. That was her go-to saying, is it's just Hollywood. You know, because like you said, like it's a piece of art.
Yeah. But there's some pieces of art kind of like I said, like my first like what would you call this movie? It's not really, it is scary, but it's like not really scary. It's just really uncomfortable to watch. And that's Hostel. I hate watching Hostel. I haven't seen Hostel since like 2006 or 5 when it came out in theaters. Because I thought it was a Quentin Tarantino film, but no, it was presented by Quentin Tarantino, and it was instead a film by some other dude. And it got me right when the ankle split. I was like, and I'm done. Like, no, can't watch it.
Eli Roth.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I could not continue on with that movie. I actually had to go desensitize myself over at King Kong in a whole other movie theater.
Oh shit.
I was that
a
person.
Great movie, long as fuck though.
I was like, well, I paid for the tickets. I'm just gonna go see a different movie instead. Like, who's gonna know? Like, what are they gonna do? Like, third degree, you know, grill me on like, what film are you supposed to be watching? I'm supposed to be watching Hostel.
Right.
Like,
so now you gotta pay for another ticket.
right. But like, you know, movies like Hostel haven't turned people into, you know, garish individuals either, you know?
Right.
So
well, that's like if you know the rapper Brother Lynch Hung, I listen to a lot of his music. Disturbing fucking music, by the way. And they're actually kind of tying into what we were talking about. There was a guy who apparently, I forget what he did. I might be wrong on this. I gotta look it up again. So false information if it is, I'm sorry. I believe he like shot up people or something, but he had the Brother Lynch Hung taped to his chest, and they blame the rapper the reason why his lyrics made him do that. And Brother Lynch was like, no, you're stupid, and actually won that fight, by the way.
Well, so,
yeah, I mean, so it's like that. It's like, obviously they had that and they saw, well, he has a CD taped to him, so
right, but that's like the moms who believe that KISS stood for Knights in Satan's
right.
Son of a bitch, I forgot the last S. Service. Services. And you know, they would think it was that time of frame where they thought like I mean shit, even like bands like Twisted Sister went to Congress and told Congress like it's just music. And like if you're finding I remember there's a scene, you can look it up, where Al Gore before he was vice president got like literally handed to by the frontman of KISS, not KISS, Twisted Sister, because he was like, look, if your wife is finding these kinds of things in this song when I'm talking about my friend doing like overdosing on cocaine, then your wife is secretly looking for this kind of content, you know?
Right, problem.
Like, yeah, you know? And he was just like this, okay. And it's like, it goes back to like, you know, Ozzy Osbourne with like the reverse vocals, like what's the secret message, you know? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's things like that people try to reach into and try to find and try to make something out of nothing, you know? Like, it just goes back to that, really. I think at the end of for me, I think at the end of the day, because as a creative person, when I'm suicide solution, right?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yep. So essentially, at this point in America, school shootings are unfortunately, someone will point to the first-person shooting games as a scapegoat to why someone would be committing violence. Yeah, and like
as I just said earlier, how sometimes I play hatred.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, Neo also said Ozzy made it for his friend who drank himself to death.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like these are songs that like these mean something to the artist, and then like they share that part with. Yeah. Exactly. It really is like one of those things where like I know this from my point of view that like when I create art, like this is what my intent is, but then like if you experience it, then you're gonna get something that's like I didn't realize was there, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I'll write a song, I'll like for example, this has happened to me multiple times with my own personal music, is that like I'll write a song and I'll be like, okay, so this was written because I was like, you know, in Washington, it was a rainy weekend, and then finally the sun broke, and I felt that awe of like, wow, a day without rain, right?
Yeah.
And then like a vocalist will come over and be like, I really like the song, can I write lyrics for it? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. And they will sing about something completely different than what I intentionally inspired me to write that piece of music, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about art, is that like what I experience and what I turn into a sonic or visual piece can then be turned into something completely different, or a different experience for you or the masses.
That happened to me actually yesterday. I was listening to some music and I got like really deep into it and started like doing some shit. And I was listening to the song, and what I thought it was about heroin overdosing. And I fell into the realm of what's the history behind the song type shit. And actually it was about isolating yourself. And I was like, oh, so what I thought was about drug use, it's actually just about isolating yourself. And I was like, oh, well. So just like you said, you know, when I found that out, I was like, oh, and so I listened to the song again. I'm like, holy shit, it is.
You know, not to break anybody's bubbles on this one, but you know that Sarah McLachlan song, "In the Arms of the Angel."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's not about passing away. Well, I mean, it is. Right. But what angel do you think she's really talking about?
I'll be honest.
What white angel do you think she's talking about? If you don't know, I just snorted like a lot. An
angel does.
Airline. I just gave a little for those who are listening.
Is that seriously what it's about? Are you fucking kidding me?
She was reading an article. Shit. She even explicitly says, she's like, I don't know why people use this song in funerals. I don't get it. But I read an article in the Rolling Stones about an artist that I liked who passed away from overdose, and I wrote this song for them.
That's like the song Toy Soldier. It was about her friend who had a cocaine addiction.
Right, exactly. And then
that song goes hard, bro.
And then Eminem comes around, you know what I mean? And just lifts it and puts it into his song, you know? Like
his life. Fucking drama queen over here. Nah, just joking.
Don't call Eminem a drama queen.
As I say, I don't know why I've been beef with them.
Drake is the drama queen, okay? I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's this group of people, by the way.
Right.
So
where was we?
Back to the APA. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this thing, but it's called the American Psychological Association. It's a group of people that do a bunch of studies in America, specifically on psychology of the masses here. And speaking on violence in video games, they have not found a connection to video games and violence. But they do notice aggression and antisocial behaviors do come from playing violent video games. But aggression and antisocial behavior are not the same as violence. So how do you feel about that?
That's honestly a little deep, man.
So I mean like, okay, so like literally just take like violence and put it like in a upper left-hand corner over here, right?
Okay.
And that's a thing. And then you've got aggression, and it's its own little bubble. And then antisocial behavior, like, you know, being withdrawn, you know, not really interacting with the community.
People, just being antisocial, yeah.
Put that in its own little bubble.
Okay.
Those are three separate things. They're not in the same umbrella. They're not their own. They're their own separate things.
I hate to say it, but kids who grow up in a violent household or community or whatever, they still have a group. And
it's funny watching you try to use your English here.
I just
How do I say this without saying this thing?
Yeah, like I mean, I get where they're coming from, but it still just doesn't make sense to me, man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That aggression and antisocial behaviors don't lead to violence. They're not the same.
I guess it is, but then again, I don't know, man.
So yeah, Black Neo just kind of pointed it out there. Violence begets violence. It doesn't. It's its own separate thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But playing violent video games doesn't lead you to committing violent things or violent actions in real life.
Right.
But aggression and antisocial behaviors do arise. I could say this like from my point of view, and this is again from like COD or what's the other one?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. Well, GTA definitely with I'm talking about like most recently within the past decade playing with my friends.
Okay.
The mass multiplayer games where like we're all teaming up and we're squatting and doing the things, right?
Right.
I mean, if I want to listen to one of my best friends just drop the motherfucker word like every 5 seconds, then I think clearly this video game is rising some aggression here, like.
Right, like I played most of the Souls games, like, alright.
Yeah.
That's what my wife says. She's just like, she loves to use that for example. She goes, I love that you come home so angry from work that then you're like, oh, I'm gonna go and chill and relax, and then you start up Elden Ring, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying here, but it's it's
so not relaxing, but it's relaxing to you, right? Yeah. Right. It kind of goes back to like when I was like working in 2006, like sometimes we would have like broken candles in the shop, and instead of selling it for a 20% discount, I would just take it out back and just throw it against the wall and just destroy the thing,
Right.
Because it was great. It was a good outlet for me, and so yeah, the APA is essentially kind of putting it out there that like they're just saying that it's nature. It's either going to happen or it's not, but it doesn't like bubble up because one experiences it so much. In 2015, the APA, also known as the American Psychological Association, found no difference. In 2017, they urged politicians and media to stop connecting violent games to in real life violence, which is probably why, like most recently, like especially like with a couple of school shootings that happened like this year, there hasn't been any like media outsource that says like, oh, because of Call of Duty or PUBG or Fortnite or because I know Fortnite's a very quote unquote kid friendly like pop game, but it's not. If you think about it, it's not really like you're still roaming around and blapping everybody, like
shooting people.
Yeah. Dressing up as like freaking
that's literally a survival game. You got to be the only one to survive. So you're really having to survive other shooters. Like
I remember watching a streamer play Fortnite, and they were talking like it was like probably like one of those like open chat rooms. And I remember hearing someone say, "Oh yeah, I just killed Billie Eilish." Because they have a skin for her in that game. Now, think about that sentence. Think about that sentence there.
Want to say that on the mic again?
Right?
Oh, man.
Out of context, that makes like no sense at all. And it'd be like, what the frick did Sean just say? And it'd be like, okay, listen, everybody. Like, when you have a skin on Fortnite and it's Billie Eilish or Mr. Beast or somebody else, whatever, and then they're using that image and saying like, oh, I murked this person. I can see it, but at the same time, it's like not a thing at the end of the day. Like it doesn't equate,
Like just because you did that in Fortnite does not mean you're having this whole planned mastermind in your bedroom of how you're gonna fucking it,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Unabomber didn't just like, start off because he read a bunch of books. 2020, still no evidence. Still no evidence.
Oh, okay.
So this was about, half a decade in. And then 2021, no change in the stance of whether or not violent video games begets violence.
Good though.
2023, eLife studied playing GTA 5, and it turned out that it does not make one more violent.
Good.
So a whole other study
Good.
group. And the thing is that like,
mind you, they did that in 23. At that point, GTA was already 10 years old. So
yeah,
like,
and not only that, but like 2020 specifically, the APA came out that there's no change in playing a violent video game begets doing violent actions. We were all in lockdown in 2020, so we all had hours of time to play.
Back to what you were saying earlier, isolation, not really it's social.
Yeah, aggressiveness, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I lived it.
Yeah, we all did. Like I remember sitting in my like playing again.
I told my wife if I would have live streamed back in 2020, I felt like I would have been a lot further than what I was now, because my God, I was hours.
Right. Yeah, for real.
Hours.
So the thing is that why I brought up the APA and their studies from 2015 to 2021, and then the most recent study from eLife in 2023 is because if we go back to 1992 or the 70s or the 60s when video games were coming out, if someone says to, like, I don't know if you know this, but like, maybe some people don't, but like, if you're going to do a study, it's specifically with people, right? There's two sets of data. There's short-term data, which is like short time span. We'll say like, you know, for me, I would give it like 2 weeks, right? Or for some people, they give it like 3 months, right? But a longitudinal study was not possible back then because if you think about like 1992 and Mortal Kombat coming out, how are they going to know and play the fast forward button and speed up to 2023 and say, well, damn, we didn't realize that Midway was going to go under and, you know, NetherRealm Studios was going to come out with a whole reboot of the Mortal Kombat series, and we didn't realize that graphics were going to be like this, and fatalities and x-rays and all the things were going to be a thing. You know, like there's no magic 8-ball to look into and say, well, I think we're better off in 2024, you know, like I think we're fine, you know, like there's no way of having that foresight. So that's why, like, if it wasn't up till 2015 that I start mentioning the APA, it's because, again, there wasn't very many studies done on violent video games, short-term or otherwise, until today, I would say, that we can have that fortune of going back in time and saying, like, well, since if we pick a year, we'll say 1992 to today, has Mortal Kombat really made that much of an impact on society to say we can link this to that? And we blame 1992's Mortal Kombat for it. I don't think so. I think that you get lost in the sauce on that, you know?
Absolutely.
That's at least what I found out about violent video games. You know.
Right. No, I agree with you on that. Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, my first violent video game was a video... It's not really... It's violent, and if you look it up, it's fine. You don't have to, but there's a specific scene in the beginning of this video game. It was called Less Manly Lost in LA. It was this old CD-ROM game. Or not even CD, it was floppy disk.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
And it was text-based. So, like, everything was narrated by text. But it had, like, pixel motion capture. So, like, you're, like, almost, like, 16-bit, like, photo imaged. And the faces would be, like, still, but their mouths would be this. I'm making, like, faces, so audibly people know, like, I'm just making faces. But that was how it looked. It was like, you know, the faces would just move, you know, and they would, like, change so it looked like they were talking as the text was going. Awesome. And there was one particular, like, the bad guy at the end of the day, he's kidnapping actors and then turning them into, like, wax statues. And so he, like, yeah. And so, it's up to Les Manley to save the day in Los Angeles when he goes to visit his superstar friend who just happened to get kidnapped. And the guy takes off his face, right? It's like a cutscene where he takes off his face and it's like a whole other person. He's like, oh, I knew it was you. And then he'd go, oh, you think it was really me? He'd take off his mask and it's a whole other person. So throughout the whole game, it's been the bad guy just kind of leading you down a rabbit hole, you know? Because he kidnapped the other people.
Right.
But the face mask part scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. I was a wee little boy playing this Packer Bell video game because parental advisory was not around at the time. And then I think my first video game at home, I remember having to lobby for this. Lobbying, was that I really wanted to play a Mortal Kombat game. I remember the first Mortal Kombat game arcade at a pizzeria. And it was like the, standard Mortal Kombat. And my grandpa would have like medicine bottles filled with quarters with our names on them for all the kids. And so the first task is you got to learn how to unscrew these motherfuckers, right? Because I had the click tops, so it was child proof. But it's not so child proof when you're learning how to open them.
Right.
And then we would pour out our quarters and we'd go and play the games. I would play one game and then I'd take the rest of my money and I'd go and I'd play slots for fake tattoos. So I could put them on that evening and then go into school and be like, yo, girl, check out this tat. I'm so hardcore. Mortal Kombat 3, Vanilla Mortal Kombat 3 on the Super Nintendo. That was a game I was lobbying my dad for because I was like, I really want to play this game. He's like, I don't know, it's kind of violent. I was like, please. And so 3 months later, I think it took me 3 months to lobby for Mortal Kombat 3 to be in the house. And the rule was, because my brother was 2 years younger than me, that if we played together, we had to go to options, turn off blood, turn off the fatalities, and then play the game. And yeah, that was the in-house rule. We could play the game, but we had to have blood and the fatalities off. But that's parenting. That's parenting for kids. That maybe my dad saw me at 8, 9 years old, going, "No, you're not ready for this." I don't know. Like, I guess that was probably the best thing he ever did as far as my parenting's concerned. I haven't turned into a psychopath yet, so there's that. Yeah. Oh, and also on top of that, I found out that the Supreme Court weighed in. There was a Supreme Court court case back in the 90s about whether or not violent video games was appropriate as media in America, and the justices at the time weighed in and said no, it's a part of the First Amendment.
Really?
Yes.
What?
So we could think that as far as our government's concerned, that's the reason why we have violent video games to this day, and they can get away with anything, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, man.
That is all I got.
That's all I got. That's literally all I got about violent video games. I feel like, again, I don't know if like you've learned anything, like if anyone's learned anything today, but I personally feel like I walked away from this. I mean, I walked in thinking like video games don't create violence.
No.
And
I don't think so.
As I like kind of started going through like the timeline of violent video games, I thought to myself like, oh, this is gonna change my mind,
Oh shit, really?
Like, like that's appropriate. Like,
I guess I never lived that. Yeah.
I'm glad I found you too, Black Neo.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, like I feel like I'm okay with adapting to new studies, taking studies and adapting my mindset to it if it's appropriate. You know what I mean? Right. And that's why I looked at the APA for for guidance on this because I was like, well, what studies have they done? And just to find out that there's been like no proof, I was like, oh,
Right.
so my assumptions, in-house reality assumptions of like what I'm experiencing has been on the mark a little bit, you know? And yeah, like I don't think my mind's changed. I mean, I think that I feel like for you being on the East Coast and me being on the West Coast, I'm kind of glad that maybe between coastlines, there is a commonality without having to say it that like maybe you shouldn't be giving your kids violence video games. Maybe just keep them with like Yoshi's Island for a while and then graduate them to like
once my kid can beat my ass in Mario Kart is when he has proved his worthy.
I love that on Rainbow Road.
Oh god.
Yeah. That's like the top tier. You got to do Rainbow Road, man. If you
absolutely,
if he can't beat you at if he or she can't beat you at Rainbow Road, Mario Kart, then they're not allowed to play video games. Violent video games. Horror video games are different.
Yeah, we're horror people, so that's why we mention it a lot. But
yeah, right.
Would you like to wrap this up?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I would like to thank the moderators, DDogCat36, Lightbright Indy, as well as King J935. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat, Black Neo, Barnosco, for stopping by, or for those who are just sitting in the back row and watching. Hi,
Baker,
thank you guys so much.
On my side, and Pro Prime 001 on my side. Shout out to being in here.
Absolutely. And thank you all so much for listening, stopping by. We do this bi-weekly, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow or leave a comment on our YouTube channel, The Evil Hour Podcast. Let's see, Dom, anything for the near future for you on your channel?
Well, you know what's around the corner just as much as I do. We're Silent Hill fans, and around the corner is Silent Hill. By the way, I'm DDogCat36. I don't know your streaming schedule, I'm sorry, but mine is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's when I go live. But right now we're kind of kicking it with some Dark Souls 3 just because I'm just trying to move on by till Silent Hill 2 remake comes along. So might as well suffer on a different game. What about yourself? I forget your schedule.
My schedule is in flux right now because I just moved from the midnight shift to the night shift. So I know that this Monday I'll be streaming for quite some time. I am currently playing Have a Nice Death, and it's a quote rogue-like video game. It's actually quite fun. And I've also been jamming out on my music and just like you, pacing it out till October. I already got my leave in and everything. Oh, on the 21st, I will be at the Scottish Games in Fresno. So if you see me out there in my garb, I will be out there living it up, doing my Oktoberfest, beers in hand, all the things. So I've got that planned for the near future. And yeah, as far as the schedule, I'm still sticking to Mondays and Wednesdays. I don't know at what time. We'll figure it out. Like, I'm definitely not streaming in the afternoon because I'll be working in the afternoon. So I'll be figuring it out if I'm doing like mid-afternoons or late evenings because I get off at around midnight. So yeah, but we will be here.
What we always mention that we sometimes forget to mention, let us know what you guys would like to hear in our next podcast and or your comments to this previous podcast, so we could give you a shout out in the near future. We already had one guy suggest a topic for us to do on podcasts, which we already did, so make sure you listen to that in our previous podcasts where Seán says they were,
which you can listen to.
Yeah, so let us know if you have topics yourself that you'd like to hear us review or do or whatever. So
yeah, absolutely. It was over rhymes or
childhood
rhymes, right? Yeah, because we were doing the cryptids episode, and
true stories about childhood rhymes.
Yeah. That was actually a really fun one too. Yeah. So
that was a fun one.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to others. Don't pollute. And peace, everyone.
Yep. Later.